In this video, I'm going to share why I think the Canadian Liberals' gun buyback plan is such a terrible idea for crime. I'm going to show you the stats, my reasoning, and I promise you this, I'm going to be fair. And if you disagree with me, I'd love for you to just leave a thoughtful comment. And if you share something interesting, I will actually change my mind. But I hope you listen to this perspective as well. So, just a quick, this is a quote from the Wall Street Journal, and I've looked at stats from Canadian government websites all day. You can dig up anything you want, but just to get the ball rolling here, it says many Canadians own hunting guns, but they can't legally buy handguns, and semi automatic rifles, such as the AR 15, are banned. Background checks for firearm licenses are mandatory. And it says smuggled U.S. firearms are used in as many as 90% of all gun crimes in Toronto, according to the city's police. Now, this is the same across all major urban areas, which is where the vast majority of the crime is gun crime. So you can look up any stat and share it with me. I will take a look, but this is just one to get it going. So, if you just, here's just, this is a to scale. So 90% of the gun crime is illegal guns. 10% is done with legally owned firearms. And what they're planning on doing is saying, okay, we're going to get the police, pay a bunch of money for them to go to people like farmers who own a shotgun or more of a serious type of weapon, whatever. I'm not an expert on the guns themselves, but they bought them legally in the past. Now they're no longer legal. So the police gives the money, they give the guns. But again, this is only at most 10% of the gun crimes. And most of them are on trucks, smuggled in handguns that go to gangs that, deal with shooting, like stealing cars, all this kind of stuff. So they want to go after the guys who are not using their guns for crime. They've locked them away. They use them on the farms. Whatever you think of it, they're just not used that much. So they want to waste all their money and resources going after this problem and not really discussing this. Okay. But 10% is not nothing. So I'm not going to dismiss it totally, but that's what they're going after. Now, this will cost well over $1 billion. The parliamentary budget officer says 756 million for compensation only. That's just the paying for the actual guns, and that's not about the administration hiring everybody to do it. So it's going to be a ton of money. Okay. And they're focusing on this instead of what they should be doing, which in my opinion is this. So somebody shoots somebody else, they go to jail and stay there for a long time. Pretty simple. Or if you're caught smuggling, you put more border agents there, look up online where they're buying these guns, how they're getting them in, and put them in jail for a long time. Really discourage this wherever the actual crime's going. If you commit a crime, if you're stealing a car, if you're bringing in guns that you're not supposed to for these kind of crimes, if you're part of these gangs, go after them, put them in jail, use the resources and the billions for that. Again, somebody goes, robs a car. There's so much of this carjacking. And then they get, they got to do bail reform. They're off hanging out in the streets, going to the gym, waiting for years for a trial. And we can't have this. This is even if they've done it multiple times. Okay, so what I would say to do instead, and again, tell me if you disagree, tighten the immigration system back to the point system and really make this a good one like we used to have it about 10 years ago. It's almost like getting into a top university, getting into Canada. You get points for being young, points for speaking English or French, points for having a young family, for a good education. 4 years is better than 3, is better than none. All these averages make a huge difference for who's coming in. What kind of degree do you have? What's your health like? What is your background? Do you have a criminal record? All this kind of stuff. No excuses. This is what we want. Like, treat it like a university who gets in. That's the first thing. The other one is tough jail sentences, no excuses. So no, like, oh well, the poor guy had to steal 3 cars in a row because whatever, someone was mean to them, or whatever the excuse is. They need to go to jail and stay there, not so much as a punishment, which is a big part of it, but the other one is they do the same crimes over and over again. Just getting them off the street means that person who's causing all the problems is not out on the street. So that's a huge one. And this one I haven't heard a lot, but I would use some of that money to actually pay for advertising, not only in Canada locally, but all over the world. Rebrand the country that Canada is the worst place to be a criminal. Sadly, it's almost laughable reading it out right now because nobody believes that. But make it one of the worst, like the best place to come if you want to raise a family, have a good job, be a good person. Then it's a great country to come to, super safe, great opportunities. That's what you want. And if you're planning to be a criminal or you're just a local person here and that you think that's a good idea, we want to get people to realize like, no, this is the worst possible place to do it. So go somewhere else. Don't even think about it here. That's really what we need to get back to doing. So the idea is if you are focusing on these legal handguns, now somebody could say, or these legal guns that the farmers and whoever else owns, you could say, well, 10% is better than nothing. What's wrong with at least doing that? And the problem is, it's so much money and it's so much resources to go after that. Well, the vast majority of this still goes on. You could say, well, why don't you do both? They won't. They don't have enough people and it's too expensive. We're in a huge amount of debt. So if you want to tinker around with this later, if that you're dying to do that, I'm not even going to comment on that. I'm just saying it's the worst thing to start with because you're using your money and your resources going after something that is not really contributing to the problem, which is guns illegally coming in to gangs, people using them and killing people, robbing stuff, breaking into homes, and then being out on bail and out in the streets committing again and again. So you're just wasting your time, wasting money when we could put the resources to something else. So that's why I think the buyback program is terrible. I think they know that. I think they know politically they want the argument there. Like they'll say, well, look at these stupid people. They don't even want to buy back the guns. They want all these guns on the streets. And sadly, there are a lot of people who at least they calculate are going to buy into that logic and say, oh, that makes sense. At least it's better than nothing. And they'll think that the liberals are the ones to solve the crime, even though it's gone way up under their watch. So, love to hear what you think. Be honest, be respectful. I will be as well. But anyway, share your thoughts. If you like this, give a like and share the video with others that may disagree if you think this is useful.